Hello, welcome back to Pages into the Past. So today we're going to take this Elizabethan style gown and we're going to change it and we're going to make it a Henry style gown. So we're going to take this and turn it into this. Hi, welcome back to Pages into the Past. So today we're going to do something a little bit different. We are going to take an Elizabethan Renaissance gown and I'm going to convert it to a Henrican gown, which is pre-Elizabethan. But some of the details of this gown are that I have beaded these little pieces here. So you can see the beading. And you can see this is a side lace here. And then I'm going to turn her around. The front piece is a one-piece section, and she's also beaded in these four areas here. She's also beaded down just the front couple rows here. For those of you who haven't been around long, one of my things that I hate to do is any kind of hand sewing. And so beading this was kind of one of those things that I was like, ugh, a necessary evil. How am I going to change this to be a Henry gown versus an Elizabeth gown? I need a new forepart. The narrow sleeves that were normally with this gown are not going to work for a Henry gown. And so I'll be adding new sleeves with the big turn back cuff and the inner sleeve. And then because this is a curved neckline and it's not the off the shoulder wide breasted look, I'm going to make a partlet to go over the top. Yes, I know it will hide some of the details, but the neckline I think needs more hiding. Unless I can alter it enough, I don't know that I can get it square enough. I do have an alternate option because, you know, we're full of options. Is this headband. I could add it to kind of force the eye into a square. So this here, if I add that there, it might force the eye to believe that it's a little bit more square than it really is. I don't know. But the initial thought was change the sleeves, turn back cuff, the undersleeve. The forepart will match the undersleeves. I already have hoods that I can wear with this because there were 3 different kinds of headwear for women at the time. I can get away with a French hood. I have a gable hood. So we'll see which one goes best. And then of course, because I've already beaded this, I decided that my forepart and my inner sleeves were going to be beaded. So I'll show you what the fabric looks like before I start beading. All right, so this is the fabric that I picked up at Costume College. I picked that up this summer, and I made this in 2017. And when I put this together, to me it had a very natural blend to it, where the colors are very complementary to each other. And so I'm going to bead these circles here and a little bit of the squares here. I'm not going to have a whole lot of time to do this. I think I have 5 weeks before the event. I'm more worried about getting the parts together than the beading part, but I did take the 4 sleeves into the house so I can bead them at night. And the old underskirt tied on, or tied closed, so I'll be adding the same ties here so that if it flips back, that's what you see. It won't flip too far to show the underskirt. So that's what we're going to be working on. There'll be a separate video on the partlet that I'm going to make. This video is going to focus on the forepart and the alternate sleeves and adding on just that filament of jewelry there so that at least it's wearable. First step is to cut out the fore panel. I took the full length, folded it in half, and then I measured up 45 inches, about the length that I need. I'm going to add it to a waistband. And then the bottom piece here, if I find that it's too short, I can always add a thin binding of like velvet or velveteen just to hide my toes. But being that we're going to be in grass and stuff, I don't know that I want it quite that long. I've already cut out the sleeve, so beading is commencing. The next thing that I'm going to do is cut out the other arm pieces and the undersleeve. I can sew those pieces in the interim of beading because beading is going to take the longest amount of time. So I'm using this pattern for the sleeves. It is an out of print pattern that I have had in my stash, and I'm just using the sleeve part, not the rest of it, because like I said before, my gowns were pre-made, and so the sleeve part I'm going to tie in with ribbon versus having a set sleeve. So we're going to cut that out. I have just enough leftover fabric. for the upper sleeve, and I've got some nice velveteen for the cuff, and I've got some white linen that I'm going to use. I think it's white linen or something white and pretty I'll use for the undersleeve. So that's where we're at. Okay, so I've got it all cut out. I'm going to use this sparkly fabric here for the inner sleeve. This is the same material as on the dress. It's going to be the upper sleeve and a lining. And I went with a non-cotton lining because this is just a very short sleeve. I'm going for light because this could get very heavy. I had some costumey velvet, so it wrinkles really quick and it's very acetate cotton, I would call it. So I cut that out for the back fold of the folding sleeve. And then I had some nice quality velveteen that I'm going to use for the part that shows. So now that I've got it all cut out, I mean, all this right here is just the sleeves. Hello. I'm going to get my directions out and figure out how it all goes together. And then instead of sewing it into the sleeve hole, I'm going to put some tie strings there. I'll put a little bit of bias tape on there. Might have to make some more of the self-faced bias tape so that you can't see it as much, because I've got some nice epaulets on there so you may not see it. I may be able to get away with like gray or something. But that's where I'm off to. So what we're making is this part of the foresleeve and then just the upper part here of the hanging sleeve. Well, and of course the hanging sleeve too. So, all right, now time to get cracking. I am using this craft velvet or poly velvet, and it is super slippery. So what I've done, I've tried sewing it with pins, and I don't like all the marks I leave. So what I'm doing is I've put clips in here really close together so that as I'm sewing, I can just pull them out a couple stitches at a time. The other thing that I did is I lengthened my stitch length. My machine automatically stitches at like 2.5. I've got this going at 3.5 just so that there's not as much pull because this velvet really pulls on itself. The only other thing that I'm really doing right now is I'm following the directions that they've given me as far as stitching the sleeve up. The step after this is going to be putting the two sides together, the velveteen and the velvet, and I'm going to use clips on that to sew that together. And then I'll turn through. What I'll end up doing is I'll top stitch the armhole sleeve opening up there, and then I will either figure out how much I need to gather it in order to attach it to the dress, or if I'll need to gather it at all. That's the only part about this converting it to being removable on an existing dress, but we'll get there in a few minutes. We are making progress. So I have the sleeves done, the oversleeve. So the only thing left to do is to add on the ties. These are going to be tie-in sleeves. Here is my false arm, kind of gives you an idea of how this is going to sit. Fold back sleeve, the sleeve here, and then I have it pinned at the grommet holes here, but that's how the sleeve will sit. Now there will be some fabric that you can see underneath here from the under chemise, but that's okay. I'm not too worried about that. There's that. And then the beading has commenced on the foresleeve. Here's what that is looking like. So this one has only got these two squares here left to bead with that. And then that one will be done. And then I'll be doing the same on the other undersleeve. And then the forepart will also get the same thing. So lots and lots of beading. So time to get going. What I've done is I have separated some of my time from beading and stitching so that it's not all happening at once. All right, there's your next update. So I just wanted to show you the lengths that it takes to bead a panel. So this is the front panel that was underneath the skirt, and I'm starting the beading process. You can see there's my beads, and I'm going to do probably 4 or 5 medallions wide at the bottom and tapering it to the top. I did chalk mark the shape that I wanted, not to pass, based off of the underskirt panel for when this is an Elizabethan gown, because it ties. And so this is how we start. You can see I have my beading table, or I'm not really sure what this is called. I'll call it a beading board for now. They're adjustable in height, and then this rolls. So as I work my way, I can roll it to keep it moving, and I don't have to keep repinning it. I have 2 sets of long boards. This is only half length. I think it's like king or queen size long if you were to do hand quilting. Not something that I want to do, because y'all know me. I'm beading. That's a lot of hand sewing for me. And you know, I hate hand sewing. So this is going to take me a good week, maybe a little bit longer, because I don't do this all day long. I got one sleeve finished, the other one's in the house. This is too big to take in the house, so I will work on this out here, the other one in the house in the evening. And then in the interim of working on this, I will finish the sleeves. They just have to be tied in. I'm going to wait till tomorrow to put it on when my friends are here so they can help me set the sleeves. So, all right guys, here we go. All right guys, for you it's only been a minute. For me it's been 3 weeks. And I have been beading. I have the forepart done, and then the 2 4 sleeves. They're all beaded and beaded and beaded and beaded. The next step is I need to line it all and then sew my attachment strings on so that I can put it onto the gown and finish those sleeves, just the tie-on parts. Then I think what I'm going to do next is this lower band here. I think I'm going to see if I can find some silver trim, maybe put some pearl buttons or something along the bottom. It'll give it a little bit of weight and some decoration, and lining it to protect the beads from the backside so they don't rub onto anything underneath and pull out. So I'll line it in something satiny and light. So, all right, getting close to the finish line now that the beading's done. The next part should only take me a couple days. Woohoo! Moving right along now. What I'm doing right now is I have added the lining to the sleeve. I did a bias edge along the bottom edge and a double bias up top. Used what I had on hand. I figured this top part here isn't going to be seen. I added my 2 tie strings, and the undersleeve is added into this as one piece, so it becomes a one-piece unit. Right now I'm adding buttons. 2 small, 2 large. There we go. 2 large. They're like a filigreed button. And then these sleeves will get tied to the gown. The underskirt is done. These sleeves, when they're done, the last thing I have left to do is the tie strings for the gown with the sleeves that go with this. So then that gown, with the exception of 1 row, it's a headband I'm going to attach to the front bodice. Then that gown is done, and then I can move on to working the over partlet. All right. I would expect that in my world that tomorrow is probably going to be, if I get those sleeves done, tomorrow will be a filming in outfit day, which I'm very excited by. And if not, it'll be the following day, and this will be out Saturday that this comes out. So I can tell you that I am the new Dean of Costume College for 2023. And if you've never been to Costume College, it's now your time to try to come. Come introduce yourself. Let me know that you've been watching my channel, because, you know, that just makes me all giggly anyhow. And yeah, so our theme this year is cosplay. So in that realm, I look at cosplay as what I do all the time. I dress up in costume just to play. Not for seriousness, not for plays, not for theater. I dress up to play with people. And so to me, any type of a costume that you wear to go out and have fun is cosplay, whether it be historical or if it be fictional, because, you know, Lord of the Rings, whether it be fantasy, you know, because I've done Maleficent. You know, there's such a big gambit. So looking forward to it. And I hope to see you there. But now I'm going to go back to sewing so I can get this done and try out some new skills. This is the big reveal. So this was turning my Renaissance Elizabethan gown into a Henry Tudor gown. And so as you can see, the hours and hours of beading that it took. The undersleeves, the oversleeves. So, all right, so now I'm going to do some still shots of a couple different ways to dress it up, but it's all done. So just remember, keep on sewing.